guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're with my friend Tristan.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking to him about his testimony. Like I said last week when I talked about my testimony, I'm going to be talking to a bunch of my friends and they're going to tell you guys about their story and how they came to faith. So Tristan, go ahead.
Wow, yeah, testimony. I think it's just, well, your testimony is so great. It's so nice to hear other people's testimonies. It just lets you know that you're not in this alone and that everyone has their own unique path. My path was kind of the traditional path where your parents raised you up in the church all your life and you're kind of just known to God. And I've always had this understanding that there was a God. I didn't necessarily know who he was, but I always knew that there was a God in my life. And I always went to Sunday school and I always went to church, and my family's always been very religious. But then there was like this shift, and this is like where I really consider like my own new relationship with God, where I begin to understand who God was as a person. And that was when I got confirmed, which is for Catholics, it's kind of like a baptism for most Protestants or most other people who are into the church. When you get baptized, you publicly declare when you get confirmed, you publicly declare your faith to the Lord. You publicly tell people, I'm going to start this relationship with him. I'm going to seek him out. I'm going to learn about him and his word. And that's just what kind of got me into it. And I started like doing research about stuff and like questioning like, why is this like that? And why is that like that? And why did they say this? And I just found that a lot of the principles just made sense to me. It just seemed right. It just seemed like, yeah, like this, there seems to have some evidence on it. It seems to have some, I can't even find the right word, but it just seems so true, so pure. And I always knew that there was a God, so it wasn't more about who he is, but it's more about why does he teach us? Why are we practicing certain things in our life? And why is like a certain way that he wants us to act? And quick answer for all of that, everything he teaches us, all the principles are all to better you, also you can live a better life. Also you can live life to its fullest. So it's not necessarily hindering you, it's not limiting you, it's just helping you in the long run, helping you for your future. It's amazing, all the principles. But when I started to make that shift, it was different because as a Catholic, you kind of actually separate from going to Sunday school. So now I was all alone on my own, trying to learn more about God with my family. And I went to church and I was still like, listen, but it was just harder because I didn't get that constant drive from my friends. But I would watch videos, I would just read, again, like questions if I had, or ask my mom. My mom's an amazing mentor. She always helped me lead the way. She always taught me what I need to know. But I just started leaning into my mom and leading into my other faith. And I began trying to apply the principles like one by one and just trying to see, okay, that works, yeah, that works, yeah, that makes sense. So I apply one principle and just another principle, another principle, another principle, like being more grateful in my life and, writing down what I'm happy about and what I'm not happy about, telling people how they make me feel, even if it's random, like, you're so nice to me, you're amazing, I love you. Bringing my friends up instead of tearing them down, trying to change my mindset. And all these principles just continue to pour into me, and I just began living out this life where I was just trying to become more like God. And that was like the whole beginning of like the relationship, I guess I would say. And then COVID hit. And that was tough for a lot of people. That was tough kind of for me as well. But it was in a weird season where it was kind of like the whole world was a mess, but in like the center, I was just there with God, and I was just hugging him, and it was all right. Everything was okay. I was with him. I knew he had me. I knew he got me, and I just grew so much during that season, where I began tuning into this other church called Journey Church, and that's not necessarily Catholic, but it's a really good non-denomination church. And I listened to their messages online. I listened to my regular church's message online, so I started listening to like 2 messages, and I'm like, that's kind of weird because I kind of didn't even want to go to church for like 1 hour and a half, and now I started watching 2 hours and a half of church every week. And I started doing that. I started just begin reading my Bible. I started this little Bible book on my phone. It's called the 31 Day Challenge, where you read all the gospel in 31 days. It ended up taking me a year and a half, but it was very good. It goes into depth about it. It just helped me understand again more about God, more about the way Jesus lived his life. The symbols, the metaphor, what it truly means. And it was like everything I wanted to, because I've always been really big about learning like the small details, like the stuff that the pastors have that you're like, whoa, like that's kind of cool. I didn't know that, or like whoa, like that means that, or that's what that word means in Greek, or that's what that word means, in Hebrew. And so I just started diving into that section. I started reading more and more, and I just began leading into my faith. And then earlier this year, in September, I started going to a new youth group, which is for the Journey students, and it's called Journey Students. It's on Wednesday nights, and I started going there. Met some amazing guys. Shout out the boys, and we just got along so well. I had this community. I was able to, get like this strength, have support, see other people supporting me, and I'm like, all right, like this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where God wants me to be, and I started doing that and started learning more and more about God. It's like I never stopped learning. Just continue pursuing Him. And it was right around this time where I became kind of set in starting my podcast. If you guys didn't know, I have a podcast called See Chat with Tristan. Check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts.
I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, there's also a website. But yeah, I started becoming set on this website, and I kind of had this idea of half a year now, where God kind of put into my head, and actually kind of told it to Lily, way in the early stages. I'm like, Lily, I think you should do this. This sounds really good. I think you'd kill it, because I was afraid of putting myself out there, afraid of stepping into, I guess, kind of the public view, and being a Christian. It is really hard. I love it. I would never give up. I would give nothing up for it. But I saw Lily out there, Lily, maybe you could do it. I'll give it to you. But it was just nice. God just kept pushing it into my head. He's like, no, this is for you. No, this is for you. I want you. Why are you saying you're not worthy of it? You are worthy of this. And He just kept putting this idea in my head. So I'm like, all right, God, I got this. I talked to my mom about it, and she said, all right, here's what you do. You just study for a year, go really, really deep into it, strengthen yourself, because you're not that close. You're not that. You don't know everything about Him yet. You don't know enough about Him. I still don't know a lot about Him, but I know enough about Him so I can tell others, or I can share with others. So she was like, you're gonna spend a year trying to learn more about Him, going deeper, and then we'll decide if we're going to start a podcast. So then this year, during COVID, without COVID, I know it was a terrible thing, but without COVID, I probably wouldn't be able to just grow as spiritually and have that time allowed for it. So I would read the Bible and watch a YouTube video, or a sermon during lunch breaks. I would, go into it during my work lunch breaks. I would wake up in the morning. I would have that extra hour. I'm not preparing for school. I'm not making my lunchbox, where I can actually just read about God. Start my day off with Him, praying to Him, and worshiping Him. I was able to go more to Journey Church, able to go more to other churches, and just see God's work and God's role and God's just love everywhere, and just be able to experience it. Today I was really driving. I'm like, man, this is a beautiful weather. This is a beautiful earth He created for us. This is amazing. Just be able to appreciate God and His Word, and I just began learning more about Him, and just continue to learn more and learn more. And the guys in my group helped me learn so much, and my youth leader Gary just spoke so many wonderful words into me, and just continue to pursue Him in that sense. And then I started to start a men's group, and I wasn't supposed to join it, but because they knew I was trying to start this podcast, they let me join. And so I joined with a couple other young men, and we started just diving into the gospel again, and Jesus' life, and all He did, and the little intricacies of it, and just learning more and more about kind of the small little details, as well as the big overarching detail, and which is our salvation. But I started doing that with the guys, and that was also another great way of just learning more and more and more about God. And by the end of this school year, by the end of the season, I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm about to start this podcast. We're gonna help spread the word. We're gonna help teach others. Kind of create this community, and that's where it became extra hard, I guess I would say, because there was seasons. Not really seasons, but there's days. And there's weeks where I'm like, man, I'm on this. I'm waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm reading my Bible. I got this. And then I go 2, 3, 4 days. I'll be like, man, I just want to sleep in. I don't really want to do this.
I feel that.
Is this really for me? It's not too late, God. You can tell me to stop. All these things. But I end up going through with it, and just took so much time, studied so much about how to. Podcasts are extremely hard to make, guys. If any of you guys actually want to start a podcast, let me know. I can help you with it, because there's a lot of random stuff with it. But studied that, studied the Bible, and eventually I finished it. I have my first 2 episodes out right now. You guys can check it out.
Yeah.
Again, link below. But yeah, it's just such a wonderful journey I have with God. I just can't wait to continue to grow and just continue to see His work and His light all over the world. It's just amazing, guys. It's amazing.
I love that. And I love how you said that, like, you started to learn and you just want to know more, and that's all you wanted to do is just to continue learning. And it is such a learning experience. I mean, people who are 80 years old still don't know everything there is about God. And I just love how you started it, like, so young. Like, I feel like it's so important for the youth to know about God and to understand Him at such a young age, because once we've developed that base, then we're able to carry it on and we're able to share it to other people in the youth. Because again, our brains are still developing and everything, and once we've developed these habits as teenagers, we're more likely to continue in the future. Yeah.
I definitely get that. I'm so thankful for my parents for like putting me into, we call it CCD, which is like Sunday school. But it's just so amazing that like they put me into it. I kind of resented it a little bit at first. Like I didn't really want to be there. It was 2 hours of my Wednesday afternoon. I'm like, I don't want to be here. I want to do something else.
Yeah.
But just having that information, having that knowledge, and now when I get older, or now when I stepped into faith, when I really decided to like, no, this is me choosing to choose God. I had all that knowledge built up. I had all those stories, all those parables, all that that knowledge of who God is already kind of built up. I'm like, I kind of already have this. It's good. And I know some of you guys may feel like, yeah, that was me too. And I kind of quit a little bit earlier. I mean, it's still there. Whatever you hear, your brain's a big computer. Whatever you hear, it stays in there. You just have to begin to open it up, get closer to God, learn more about Him.
Yeah. Thank you, Tristan, so much for talking to me today, and your story is so inspiring, and I hope that you guys were listening and you guys see him as encouragement, because honestly, it is hard to start that journey with God, but once you start and once you start to get in it and He becomes your everything, then it's easy, and it just like flows out of you, and you feel like you have so much to say and so much to give people, and that's so important. So yeah, thank you so much for talking to me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me here. Hope you guys enjoyed my testimony.
Yes, I hope
to see you guys too.
Yeah.
I hope to hear other testimonies. So.
Yes, definitely. I hope you guys have an amazing day.
Bye.
And God bless you all.
God bless.
We love you guys. Bye.
Bye.